Welcome back to Scouching's NHL Prospect Pipeline series. Today, we're looking at the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the Blue Jackets have been one of the most fascinating teams to watch over the years. They seem to have this thing going on where there are multiple factions on the scouting team and different approaches, and they all kind of get a little taste of what they like throughout the years, and they've come away with an interesting mix of players, let's say. There's a couple of guys in the core category, and leading the way is Caden Lindstrom for me. He did not play a single game in the regular season this year. I think last year you just kind of have to throw it away. But I think the upside with Lindstrom is still really high. Personally, I think this is a player with a pretty low floor based on how he plays, but the size and the skill and the finishing ability combination and the physicality, it just doesn't come around all that often, and I think over time you'll see more and more in his game that just comes a long way and could become a really impressive and important part of this team's roster. Maybe after a season or two in college hockey, getting his feet back in the competitive world, maybe then we see what he's capable of, because I still believe there's a really high ceiling with him, even if he wasn't the guy that I would have picked where they picked him. The other name here is Pyotr Andrianov. I really believe there's a huge ceiling with this guy. He may be a little bit small in net, but when they drafted him 20th overall, I went, you know what? I think there's a world where this guy plays a lot of games in the NHL, and if you get a future #1 goaltender at 20th overall, you've done decently well. So for me, he just really seems like an impressive goaltender that I watched a lot of this year. He was my best goaltender available. Just the athleticism, the ability to track the puck. He can get a little scrunched up and teeny tiny in the net, and that might need to be worked on, but he does do a really good job stopping pucks. He's very athletic and brings a lot to the table. The depth category here is just really big. Luca Pinelli, Matejchuk has played in the NHL. I've seen him live and I thought he played pretty well, but again, I don't know about huge ceiling, but second, third pair guy that can chip in on your power play, absolutely I can see it. I still believe in William Whitelaw, even though he is a very frustrating player to watch. The talent level is humongous, and I really am hoping for that breakout season, but at this point, he's really riding the line between a depth guy and a maybe guy. Arguably, he belongs in the maybe category, but we'll give him another year and see where he ends up. Jackson Smith and Malte Voss are two defensemen that are in here as well. Voss is just solid. I don't think there's a huge upside guy here, but based on his size, the solid skating ability, he gets around the ice okay and plays a pretty safe and dependable defensive style. There's a job for that in the NHL, and I could see it happening for him. Jackson Smith, on the other hand, is almost the polar opposite. I do think that there's a budding defensive game to be worked on with him, and there could be something there, but I would love to also see that offensive game be leaned into a little bit more. He's going off to college hockey. I think he's going into a system that should be more beneficial to his natural style of play, and it will be very interesting to see how he plays. But this is an interesting player that I think has a lot of potential. There just may be quite a bit of a ways to get there. There's also a couple of goaltenders in here, Sergei Ivanov and Evan Gardner. I just really like both of these goaltenders, and between these two and Andrianov, I think someone will work out somewhere on the NHL team. They're just really solid goaltenders that I've liked. The maybes category, there's a lot of really intriguing players in here as well. Luca Del Belbaluz had a really good season in the AHL, and I'll keep my eye firmly trained on his ability to produce like that this year and crack the NHL roster for more games, and he'll work his way out of this tier. But there are a lot of guys in here like Jordan Dumais and Owen Griffin, Jeremy Loranger, all bringing a certain level of offensive potential, but the likelihood of getting there might not be quite there. But considering where they drafted these guys, I guess it makes sense. Now, I am a skeptic about a guy like Jordan Dumais, and he does need to stay healthy in order to get into the NHL, but he did do an okay job in the games he got in the AHL, and we'll see where things go for him. Andrew Strothman, I am looking for a better season from him this year, but again, I still see a ceiling there. Stanislav Svazil, I thought was okay in the AHL this year, but he's really pushing the limit here, and this is the last season in the database for him. There are also guys like Oiva Keskanen and Kirill Dolzhenkov who still have a little bit of a runway, but they're also kind of pushing it into the everyone else category, and I'm just not totally sold on them being an NHL player, but I could see it still with both of those players. I've liked them when I've seen them. And then in the everyone else category, there are just guys. I mean, there's not a whole lot here that I think showcases a really high likelihood of being an NHL player. I do like Tanner Henricks and have enjoyed seeing him in the USHL over the last year. Corson Ceulemans, it's his last year in the system, and he was never a guy that I was a huge fan of anyway. I'm not totally sure any of them are going to be NHL players. Melvin Strahl and Nolan Lalonde in net have been yeah. And the rest of the picture, I mean, it's just a bunch of dudes. Aiden Hreschuk is okay in college hockey whenever I've seen him, but none of these guys really seem to move the needle a ton. So for the Columbus Blue Jackets, they're getting a 1F. Now, the letter F might make you a little bit queasy, but I just feel like Columbus has a lot of players with a really, really low floor and a really, really high ceiling. I love a lot of them. Don't get me wrong. I had Luca Pinelli in my 30s. I had William Whitelaw in my 30s. I really liked a lot of these players in their draft year, but knew full well that there is risk with these types of players. It's just the kind of risk that I like to take. There's also a lot of relative safety with this system as well. I think Malte Voss has a decent likelihood of playing NHL games. And the rest of the picture, I mean, Luca Del Belbaluz, if he repeats the success of this past season, I could see in the NHL at some point for a longer stretch of time. Luca Morelli had a fantastic season offensively. I still think that his game needs to round out a little bit, but there is that offensive upside in his game that is undeniable. Griffin and Loranger and a few other of these smaller skill guys, they bring a lot of high upside, but a really low floor. Jackson Smith, I feel very similarly. Denton Matejchuk, I think, is a really good example of a similar type of player that has really shored things up decently well. And again, we'll see how he goes this season with more of an NHL look, and I thought he looked solid in the NHL games that I saw, but not incredible. He looked fine, and in the depth category, that's good. And I like Caden Lindstrom and Pyotr Andrianov a lot. We'll see where things go with them, but again, with both of them, there's a pretty low floor. So a 1F, there's a lot of upside, and there's a whole lot of bottom to be explored if you're Columbus. But they have done, I think, a really good job getting a little bit of everything here and there and making themselves into a curious team to keep an eye on for the next little while. And with that, we're going to call it. If you liked the video, definitely like and subscribe. If you really liked it, definitely consider a subscription over at Scouching.ca, where you can get access to all kinds of fun data tools and our Discord server and plenty of other fun stuff that you're just not going to find anywhere else on the internet. So check that out at Scouching.ca. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.